Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the abrupt ending of the intro music. We're actually starting a little bit early because there was some dead air on Monday Night Ham Radio. So this is going to be an Ask Us Anything kind of stream. You can ask me almost anything, I might answer it. You can ask Jim almost anything. He's probably more likely to answer some of the more weird questions than I am.
I'll certainly have an opinion because two hams, there's at least 5 opinions here on the same subject.
Exactly. So if you guys have some questions, leave them in the chat, which is over there. I have to look at the screen because it's always on the wrong side of the screen. I don't know. It's one of those streaming things where we kind of stream backwards, even though we're not really backwards to ourselves. But if you were on this side of the camera, you'd understand it perfectly. My lighting sucks today. It's kind of
looks like you haven't shaved.
I haven't.
I shaved. Monday's my shave day. I shave on Monday. The rest of the week, man.
It was a gorgeous weekend. It was 74 degrees out yesterday, and it was like 40 something last weekend.
Yeah, well, it was cooler here last weekend. It got up into the 60s when you were freezing. And, I mean, it's probably 80 or so yesterday and today.
Yeah, so Joe Brett's saying almost anything. And Joe Brett, you are the reason why I had to switch this. You already came in saying, ooh, I'm going to ask you some saucy, spicy questions. And nope, sorry. Gotta clamp the brakes down on Joe Brett. You know, you'd think as an officer of the peace, you'd understand that. Law and order. So
things could be used against us in a court of law.
We do have some questions already rolling in the chat, but first, I got to figure out how Jim's doing, because I haven't talked to Jim since Ham Radio 2.0 stream last night, where we were talking about our new antenna.
Doing great. Monday is over. Yay.
Monday in the bag. It's been a
Monday's
weird day.
in the bag. That's right. I've got tomorrow I'm taking off to do some rearranging here at the lab behind me. You can't see it because of the magical green screen thing. I'm getting rid of a very old computer armoire and replacing it with a 6-foot work table.
The kind that had the CRT hole?
Yeah. Basically, it had like a desk piece and then 2 slide outs, one for the keyboard tray and whatever. And yeah, I've had the thing like 20 plus years. I'm like, I need it gone. It's gone. So tomorrow is that day.
Excellent. Let me scroll back up to the top of the chat. I guess I have these starred for a reason. So Kevin starts us out. K7SW Ham Radio. Kevin has a fantastic ham radio channel. He does a lot of antenna experiments, which is like the most important thing you can do in ham radio is antenna experiments. Next to, of course, like operate, but you can't operate without an antenna. He says, have you winterized and dumped your tanks? Yes. And I have solved a lot of the problems that the previous owner of my rig had left for me. So that was a fun experience. I actually went to a local campground. Kevin also has an RV channel. I don't remember the name of the RV channel. Kevin, drop that in the chat for everybody. Drop the name of it, and we'll try and get a link for you. What I think you should do in hindsight is your very last camp out of the season, camp at a place that has full hookups so that you can do the proper dump and flush and fill and flush and fill and flush and fill technique type thing. And I did not do that. I camped to do the kilo in a weekend event, and we didn't have full hookups. We only had electric. So on the way into the park, we had to fill up the freshwater tank, and then on the way out, 10 miles away was the dump station. And I'm not about hogging a dump station for half the day to get my RV winterized and properly flushed out. You can flush it out in the parking lot with no hookups at all. I'm aware of that, but I wanted to clean it real good. So I contacted the local campground here, and they said, we're closed for the season. I'm like, I don't want to camp. I just want to use your hose and your dump line for about a half a day. Oh yeah, sure. How much will that be? Same price as camping. Okay. I guess I'm kind of camping, but not camping. So yeah, it was down at Balsam Lake. So I had a lovely lake view while I was dealing with some waste products. That's Kevin's question.
Some waste products.
Exactly.
That's how I've been looking for Kevin's answer to come up, and I haven't seen it yet because I was going to try and Google that.
Yeah. And then Janice asked a question, what is the best way to make your PL259 and coax cable waterproof for outside use? So I got a couple of ones, but I'll let Jim get this one started because it looked like he had an opinion.
I discovered something called rescue tape. So rescue tape, and I will find a link for it. It's on, RNL has it. The rescue tape is like a silicone stretchy tape, and it's not really sticky. It sticks to itself. So you put it around the connector and pull it taut, and then it binds to the connector, and it's supposed to be really good. It's about $10 for, I don't know, 20-foot roll maybe. I mean, it's a little pricey for tape, but there it is.
Looks like
Amazon even has it.
Yeah, it looks like I found it. Let's get a link for you guys in the chat here.
And okay, so 12 foot, 1 inch wide by 12 foot. And the roll I got is red. I think that looks like white, I guess, from this angle. But that's what I put on my disc cone antenna I just put up. And I'm going to go out and do that on my DX Commander as well. I'll be honest, I don't have any weatherproofing on my DX Commander. So, but I also have some maintenance due on it that I'm going to be doing in the next week or two anyway. So I'm going to cover it then. The beauty of this, and I don't know if this is the same as what the British call self-amalgamating tape, but this isn't gooey. It's not covered in glorp that is going to bind up, and then you'll have to sit there for 30 or 40 minutes with a pocket knife digging all that stuff out if you ever have to change it.
Oh yeah, you just cut it off and start over again.
Yeah, you just slide your knife down it and it'll split open and you just pull it off. Because I've seen several people who will put they'll put electrical tape over their connections and then put the glorpy stuff over the top of it.
Yeah, this stuff here.
To make it easier to get off. But the rescue tape seems to work really well. Is that same thing?
This is the self-amalgamating tape that you're talking about now?
Is that the glorpy stuff?
Yeah. So this stuff, it like you said, it's not sticky. You kind of stretch it and it adheres to itself. This is another way of doing it. This is one of my suggestions here.
What is the other? There's a brand. What is that?
3M.
Coax Seal?
Yeah,
Coax
Coax Seal
Seal
from Messi and Poloni, I think it is. That's pretty neat.
I've never used that. That's one of the ones.
Let's see, Messi and Poloni.
And the other option is something. There's a product, and I can't think of the name of it. It's basically liquid rubber in a can. And so you could just use that too. And I think I saw somebody in the chat used something similar to that. Tango Oscar Mike, you're exactly correct. Vaseline.
That's what I have been using.
Yeah.
Hayden did a video on this coax seal stuff, this silicone seal. This is fantastic. So it looks white, but it's actually black. That's the protective liner, whatever you want to call it. You stick your coax inside of that, and then you grab that tail that's coming off, and when you peel it, it unwinds from the inside, and it shrinks up. It's like shrink wrap that doesn't require any heat.
Oh, neat.
And it's designed to keep the weather out. And Hayden Ham Radio DX YouTube channel has a fantastic little short video on how this stuff works. And 3M Temflex 2155. There's a lot of good ways to seal coax. The cheapest and easiest one, the way that I have been doing it, is to use some Vaseline. I just go out and put it on top of the connector right before winter. So it's getting to be about time to do it again, or anytime I modify or move the antenna around. It's a little gummy, but you just wipe it off with a rag and you're back in business. And it's just a water repellent. It doesn't really seal anything. I mean, your coax is outside, so it's going to have a limited lifespan. And if I was doing coax on a tower, I would definitely use something like this silicone seal stuff from Messi and Poloni. So that's one of those things that is there. Jim, what I've been doing is I've been going down the comments and I've just been starring any questions, and then they show up in the starred part. So that takes care of Janice's question. And then
never noticed a starred tab before.
Yeah.
Fancy.
So we'll unstar that one. And then Kevin says, have your kids ever gotten on the air with you? Yes, Kevin. Actually, I have 3 daughters that each have their ham license out of 5. And one of them's a tech. 2 of them are generals. 2 of them have their own YouTube channel. If you look on my channel, you'll see POTA or Bust. It's a YouTube series that I did, 3 years ago now, where we built a 20-meter dipole, and then we tested it out in the yard, and then we tested it out, making sure we had all the kit that we needed to go to do a POTA. And then we went and did a POTA activation. And then one of my daughters, Leah, went and did a couple of POTA activations at that park with my other daughter, Becca. And then Matt Quince from We4DX, the Ham Radio Adventures Club, came over, and we did a POTA in the rain inside of his camper trailer. It's kind of cheating, but it was a lot of fun. We took the 7300 out in the rain, and activated a park that way, and just sat in the parking lot and made lunch and had a grand old time. It was a lot of fun. That takes care of that question. And then, are we waxing philosophical from Ed? Yes. Ed, it was kind of I don't know what happened this morning. I got out of bed and didn't feel like doing anything at all today, but still have time for YouTube because I love it. I love hanging out with you guys. You guys are a lot of fun, and ladies as well. And so yeah, I figured we'll just go philosophical tonight and see where the rabbit hole takes us.
Keep the questions coming, y'all.
For sure, for sure. Alan Gideon says, I'm curious, do your friends call you Temp? No, my friends actually call me TO, and it's kind of something that started from the channel. I have had this name, this nickname kind of thing. It never really became a nickname until the YouTube channel took off. I started the YouTube channel, it was just called Temporarily Offline. What happened was I used to build data centers from absolute scratch. Like, hey, I want a data center, and then I'd go build one. So I'd work with Aaron to get a range of IP addresses, and I'd work with a real estate company to find some real estate, and then I'd bring in electricity and generators and air conditioning and all that kind of stuff for environmental whatever. And I sold that business in 2006. At that point, I also sold my entire web presence, and that company is actually still in business today, which is actually pretty cool. And at that moment, I had nothing. So I'm like, all right, I guess I'm temporarily offline, because I was. And that became my address at Gmail. So, I mean, it's in my YouTube description, temporarily offline at gmail.com is my email address. And that was my channel name. And then this was back when you did fancy intro screens, and my first fancy intro screen with my limited amount of talent and my large appetite for YouTube videos. I just
remember
put
that one.
TO, and it kind of, had some house music, some dance music. And so everybody started calling me TO, and here we are. That's the,
I don't think I did see that one. I remember the keyboard thing in the music.
yeah.
But
The keyboard logo that's up in the corner over here now, that's actually something that Becca designed. And it's supposed to look like, it's a VGA font, and it's supposed to be a bunch of keys with a space bar and then 2 radio knobs. So that kind of explains the logo too.
right.
And then this one from Javier, I have not... So, I pronounced that Spanish. Are you Spanish or French? It's kind of hard to tell with that name. Of course, I'm just having fun anyway. I have an X6100, and on 80 meter, the waterfall goes inwards and outwards. Is this normal? No.
I guess he means below the line.
Yeah, I'm not really 100% sure. There is an artifact that happens on the 6100 every so often where the left and the right edge of the waterfall looks like it's got a bunch of interference, and I think it's a software artifact from those programmers. And then every so often you can reboot it and it'll go away, or reset something and it'll go away.
I'm dropping questions in there, so you just keep rolling.
All right, excellent. So that's Javier's question. Lawnmower. Do you know of a video that shows waterproofing wrapping coax connections? Yeah, so I did a little bit on my DX Commander series where it broke and it turned out to be mice that ate through the cable. So like waterproof to your heart's content, but there are lots of other problems with coax. So I have some RG213 from DX Engineering that is direct burial cable. So I directly buried it for the length of yard that I wanted to cut the grass on. And then it runs through my front garden and then through the wall directly behind me. And there's a spot where there's this little gap between the front porch steps. That's the concrete steps that you can order, and then they just show up on the back of some massive truck, and they use a crane to lower them because they're like 9,000 pounds or something like that. But there's like this much of a gap. So the coax was running through there, and the mice like to run through there as kind of a highway and chill out and nibble on my coax. So there was about this much coax that had been chewed all the way through to the center core, and it was all green and it was nasty. And so we did a video series where we tried to figure out what the problem was. And right away in the very beginning of the very first live stream, the Nano VNA told us the time domain reflectometer, the TDR, reflectometry, whatever that R word is.
That's
Close
it.
enough.
Reflectometer.
Said that the break in the coax was 11 feet away, which would be out this window and 11 feet down to where the break was. And we didn't believe it at all. I didn't believe it at all. Turns out it was right all the way in the beginning, and that would have been a very quick over with stream at 15 minutes in. So yeah, lots of other ways to do it. So in that video series, I showed that I just put some Vaseline on the end of the coax cable. The other thing that I did that's very important is where it goes through the wall behind me, there's what we call a drip loop. So the wire goes out to the exterior and then it goes down. So anytime any water would hit the coax cable, it's going to run down the cable itself and then drip off onto the ground, as opposed to coming down the cable and running into the house and ruining my connectors and my insulation and all kinds of other stuff inside. So that's another way to do it, is to have what they call a drip loop, and it's just
Drip loop.
hang a loop of cable down so the gravity runs the water down and drops it off, and then it comes back up and goes into your house or into your radio or whatever.
We don't have a meese problem here, thankfully.
Oh, it's constant here. It's Wisconsin, so it's the weather's always changing, and they either want to get into the house or they want to, get back into the house to get all the food that they stored. So
Right.
we constantly battle getting them back out of the house, and we're winning, I hope. But the house is from 1903 or 1930. I'm not sure where the 0 and the 3 fall at the end, but either way, it's old. Is really
That's
the point
old.
that I'm making.
Yeah. I reckon.
So yes, there is kind of a video there. Let's see. You should do some videos on Mac software for radio. I should, but there isn't much. There's a couple. There's Rumlog NG for logging. There's Aether, Aether for logging. WSJTX works
Ether.
on Mac. Yeah, I'm just being pedantic.
If you were being pedantic, you would have said it right. It's
I was phonetically saying it. Yes, it's Ether.
Killing me,
like,
Smalls.
Like it's daemon on Linux.
right. Thank you.
D-A-E-M-O-N, daemon.
Sweet baby Jesus. That's right.
How to get Jim worked up in 5 seconds or less. Mispronounce a word that no one uses,
Right.
like solder.
Right. That's how you say that word. So that's
Yeah,
cool.
exactly. So even Morton, LB0FI YouTube channel, he made a video today, and tip number 3 in his 5 tips for ham radio was properly pronounce the word solder, and he did. So I was very proud of him.
Not the Australian or British way, because we make fun of Hayden for that as well too.
Solder, yeah, exactly.
Solder or something like that.
Yeah,
And
so
did you mention SDR control for the Mac?
no, we did do a live stream on SDR control, and a lot of so SDR control is remote control software for the 705, 9700, and 7610 series of ICOM radios. Anything with the built-in web server. If you have one, you know what it is, and if you don't know what it is, then you probably don't have that radio. Like I've got an ICOM 7100 that doesn't have that feature built in. So fantastic software. It'll do FT8 natively. It will do logging. It'll do a bunch of other decoding. It displays the waterfall remotely. It'll do SSB contacts remotely. So I'm sure it'll also do AM contacts and FM contacts remotely as well. Little
does.
teeny tiny bit of a lag, but when you're remote, you can't notice it because you have nothing to compare it to. And
wait. Wait.
Oh, a demonstration. So Jim and I did a live stream on this a while back where he was using his 7610 and I was using my 705, and we were playing with it. So you can look at that in the back catalog on this channel here.
Yeah, and I've got a video on SDR control as well.
And just
on my
about
channel.
any of the Linux ham radio software with a little bit of effort will work on a Mac machine. But I predominantly run Linux for my Ham Shack. Let me share this again, and we'll go to that. So this is my Linux machine that I'm remote controlling, and there's WSJTX. So I'm on a Mac running a remote control session to my Linux machine, and it's going to complain because this is connected to the 7100, which is not actually connected. So it should complain after a little bit of a timeout. But while I'm here, I'll do this configuration, 7300, switch to. So this is a pretty neat feature of these WSJTX software that a lot of people don't use. So the 7100 and the 7300 and the 705 all have the same internal sound chip. So the sound works and it's decoding because I'm on the right frequency, but rig control is not working. So if you just pick clone, it'll create a new one, and then you can pick rename and name it after the radio, and then I can click switch to, and it'll switch to the 7300, which will restart the software. And that popped up because I was in the middle of being yelled at for not being on the right radio. So let's switch to again. Poof, it goes away, it comes back, and it's reconfigured, and I've got rig control back. So there you go. And I am on 20 meter FT8. Let me find a clean spot in the band, and we will get started. Cool. So there's the FT8 part of the FT8 and AMA. And we're transmitting. Excellent. So I do have some plans to do some Mac software videos. I've got a list of it, but man, I've got a list of ideas for videos that's about 10,000 long, and I've got a day job, and I'd love to do this full time. This would be fantastic.
Oh yeah, a full-time YouTuber would be like not having a real job.
So Steven M6 DPS. I need a tiny antenna to listen, not transmit to 40 and 20 in a hotel room. Don't really want to wire anywhere. Any other solutions? There's a couple of solutions. If you want to be a radio purist, there's an antenna called a Wonder Wand, and you can get them on ham radio outlet. And I believe they're a UK company, so there might be MLNS might have them, or Moonraker, or any of the other shops that you guys have over there. They make the Wonder Wand Loop, which is good for 7 megahertz through 50 megahertz. And basically it gets a 22-inch loop of wire. I don't know what that would be. A meter and a half a meter? I don't know.
22 inches?
Yeah, I don't math on stream, so I'm just giving you a good
about-
guess.
Yeah, I don't know. MFJ sells a thing, and I can't remember what they call it. I've seen it on their site, and I'm sure it's on every other site. And it's a box with a extendable little whip, and I'm talking,
Yeah.
3 feet maybe. And it's supposedly for using with your SWL, soft shortwave listening, or an SDR. It's a non-transmit antenna. And I want to say it's supposedly multi-banded. I cannot remember the model number or anything. But MFJ sells something like that. It's a black box that runs off 12 volts. I don't know how good it is, but they sell that. And it's probably cheaper than any kind of mag loop, I would guess. I don't know.
So there's also mag loop. So the Wonder Wand loop that I was talking about isn't a mag loop. It's just a loop with a built-in tuner. Just to put that out there. You can also make a mag loop. That would work out pretty well. Wonder Wand makes an actual extendable whip, and I want to say it's like another 2 feet or whatever. Jeff N4POD says, get a pair of rabbit ears, basically a dipole. Absolutely correct. You can find
a crappy old FM antenna like they used to give away in stereos.
Yeah.
Those are straight up FM dipoles. They'll work.
Yeah, so you can find the RTL SDR dongle kit on Amazon, and usually it'll come with a plethora of antennas. A gaggle of antennas. There's a couple of dipoles, a couple of whips, a couple of whatevers.
Myriad antenna.
But what you'll find is that you can listen to a lot of stations on an antenna that is not resonant for transmitting on them. Like I was listening to AM radio stations on a 2-meter mag mount antenna on the roof of my car, and they were coming in great because receive is not the same as transmit. And then lastly, if you're not a RF purist, you can do WebSDR and listen to whatever WebSDR you want. And one of the benefits of that is you can listen to a WebSDR in Utah and hear stations that Utah can hear that you might not be able to hear in M6 land.
Right.
So a couple of options there for you. And then Dan asking the tough questions. What happened to the FT8 The FT8 went away for retooling, and then our master developer has had some inability to code. Some life stuff got in the way, and the what we want to do, the new idea is going to be even better than the old idea. Of course it's going to be, because that's the way that kind of thing works. So
and improved 15% better. More
new and
power.
improved. And we're going to have a shorter run of the contest. Instead of an hour, we're going to have a couple of different heats. I don't know what you want to call it yet. We haven't gotten that far yet. And a new scoring system. And hopefully, because it has a shorter span, it might be able to be a little bit easier to play. And maybe we might actually wind up playing for longer, because many short contests are better than one long contest. I don't know, but it's coming back in a different form, with a different name, with a different scoreboard. And stay tuned for more information. Oh, this one's for you, Jim.
Break it down. Oh,
where did the FEP Labs name come from?
Well, so I work in IT, and I've had email since you could get email in an ISP.
It sounds familiar.
Forever. And back in the day, you were like jperry12758 at earthlink.net, or
I have a passion for not having numbers in my email address.
Well, I do too. I'm just using it as a metaphor.
Right.
And so quit being pedantic, Steve.
Oh, I was agreeing with you this time, and you're still arguing with me.
It's my jam, brother.
It's like playing cards with my brother's kids.
Right. So I got tired of having weird email addresses, and I was always changing ISPs because I could. I live out in the county out here. we didn't have cable cable service until like 2004. So it was whatever ISP had the best deal going that month. It was all dial up or direct PC, which was dial uplink and satellite downlink. Terrible. And anyway, so I wanted an email address that wasn't going to change every time I changed ISP. So I got a domain. And I was sitting there in the living room one night with my wife, and I said, I'm trying to think of a domain name. And I said, it needs to sound kind of techie and whatever, because that's what I do. And I said, something cool like Muppet Labs. And I got the eye roll.
Yeah.
And she said, well, I believe that's taken, and you're a grown man. And I said, well, kind of. To one of those. And
you are taken.
and so we have always kidded. We live in a community called Pintlala, and it's not even incorporated. It's just a crossroads at a county road and a highway, and the area is called Pintlala. And so my wife, who is from here her whole entire life, she always kids that we live on the fashionable east side of Pintlala. So she looked at me and said, what about FEP Labs? That's it. We just took fashionable East Pintlala, which was always our little in joke for where we live. And understand it's not any more fashionable than the west side or the north side or the south side. It's just a county road.
Aren't they all the same side? You just kind of stand in one spot and you're in all
Well,
four
I mean,
spaces.
it's like a crossroad, and we do live on the east side of the Pintlala community. So, we're on the fashionable east side of Pintlala, right? And FEP Labs was born, I think I've had it since about 1998 or 99, maybe. And I've never really used it for anything other than my email address for the last 25 years, probably, or close to 25. And that's it. So when I started the radio channel, there was no choice what it was going to be. So,
John, that looks like the eye in the sky news chopper. Are you a news chopper pilot or a news chopper anchor or news chopper cameraman, or just like the picture? See, this whole Ask Me Things works in reverse, too.
Well, I was trying to decide. It looked like it might have been an air ambulance. I couldn't really tell because the picture's small, but...
It does kind of have that big rear end that could hatch down and you could get in. I don't know.
Oh, no, we don't do that. We load from the side. You have to tell the muggles don't walk near the rotor.
All right. What SDRs do you recommend as an upgrade from an RTL SDR? Looking to do more HF stuff with an SDR. I do not have an answer for that one. I don't do much with SDRs myself. Don would say Hermes Light, right?
Don would say Hermes Light. I got to figure out what is doinking on my computer. I keep hearing some sound. What is it? The RSP-1A,
Yep.
I believe. The RSP SDRs are supposed to be pretty highly regarded. DX Engineering sells one called the DX Patrol, which I have, and it has a separate connector for HF and then VHF and up. It seems a little sketch sometimes. Almost all of them are the same chip inside. So any of those are probably pretty good. There's another one or two I can't remember besides the Hermes that are SDR, not full radios, just receive only SDRs. But the RSP-1A, what is the other one? AirPlay or something? AirSpy. AirSpy. That's it.
Plus 12. Nice.
Is that you, Doinkin?
I can't imagine.
I keep hearing a noise in my headphones.
The only thing you might be able to hear is the relay when the TX goes on every other 15 seconds.
Sounds like a Mac sound for some bizarre reason.
I ain't making any Mac sounds. I mean, I could, but I just have all that stuff muted. Okay, so that's a couple of different SDRs that are out there. I don't even know. I don't even follow any YouTube channels that go into more detail. We did the ADS-B SDR dongle walkthrough on this channel, and I've got another video coming out. I'm trying to figure out a way to take a case. So here's the grand plan. I want to go to Oshkosh next year, and I want to set up an ADS-B receiving station with a Raspberry Pi as a Wi-Fi access point, so you can walk within the Wi-Fi near field and connect to the Wi-Fi network. And you know how sometimes when you go into Starbucks, it says, "Welcome to Starbucks. Click here to agree to our terms and use our free internet service." Or same thing with McDonald's. "Welcome to the Mc Wi-Fi and click here to accept and check out our latest menu item specials and whatnot." That's called a captive portal. And so I'm giving away the secrets here. So if you see a video in 2 days, you guys know that that person stole it from me, whoever that person is. So yeah, you'll walk by the Wi-Fi access point. It'll pop up, you click on it, and immediately it'll pop up a web page that shows you all of the air traffic overhead that's beaconing at Oshkosh, which, if you don't know what Oshkosh is, it's the annual fly-in biggest event. It's kind of like the Dayton Hamvention of aircraft. So should be something interesting to do to get people interested in radio traffic and whatnot, hopefully. And if not, it's a pretty cool little box to make. I'm going to have a battery and a Raspberry Pi and a waterproof enclosure with the ADSB antenna and the access point type software type stuff. So that's where I'm headed with SDR dongles. So that's the SDR question. And then Chris G7VEO is asking, how do you encourage YLs to get on the air? And it's the same way that you encourage YMs to get on the air. Start off very young and understand that this is something that a lot of hams do, and I do not agree with it at all. And here's an opinion. You asked me a question, so I'm going to give you my answer. Do not push the test. A lot of people will say, go study, go take the test, then we'll do it. It's the last thing that you want to tell a kid to do is go read a book and study for a test. They're already doing enough of that in school, and ham radio is supposed to be fun. So let them use your call sign. Let them use your station and start doing things that are interesting in ham radio. Do a ham radio contest on the weekend with them at the microphone, or if they're not ready for the microphone, with them at the logging software. So it's daddy daughter time, daddy son time.
Yeah.
Get yourself some FRS radios that don't require a license and give it to them and all their friends and let them play radio while they're out riding their bikes or whatever they do for fun out of the house away from you that you can't watch. And then you can listen in on FRS and hear what all they're doing anyway. Build antennas, go do parks on the air, do weather balloon launches, send pictures over SSTV. Any of the things that you would normally do, but involve them in it at the level that they're at their age. And eventually what will happen if you're good at it is there's two things that can happen. Number one is they'll be like, well, I don't want to write your call sign down in the log. You got the award. I didn't get the award. How do I do that? Oh, now you go take the test. That way you can get your own call sign, and you got the hook. You're already done there. The other thing is that they might put it away and come back to it 20 years later. So that's a thing that a lot of people do. They'll get into it when they're young, then life happens, college, marriage, kids, house, job, turns into a career, turns into a family, 9 to 5 and watch TV with the wife and that kind of thing. And then they get some free time and then they come back to it because it was interesting and now they want to go a little bit deeper and they have maybe some disposable income. So, make it fun. Don't push any of it. And you got to spend time with your kids anyway. You might as well spend time with them, going to a park and doing the Parks on the Air activation and, playing on the playground and taking a hike and making up some s'mores at a campfire or making some hot chocolate or whatever, make it a thing. And this is one of the things that, Jim and I talk about this, when we watch POTA videos, watching someone else make ham radio contacts is not fun. If you're doing it to like learn the technique or learn how to work a pile up, there's a click there. There's something interesting. Don't get me wrong. Right. But like I watch Parks on the Air videos. KB9BBR does a fantastic job of this. I watch it because I want to know about the park. I want to know about the history. I want to know what he's cooking. I watch the guy M7. The guy changed his call sign. I can't remember what his call sign is because he changed it. But I watch him and he goes out and he camps out for the weekend with his Land Rover. Whatever. Something exciting about the area, about what's going on, about why it's different. Because the contact part for me at my level in the hobby, and I'm not saying I'm great, but at my level in the hobby, I don't want to watch you make contacts. I can do that. I want to know what antenna you're using. I want to know what station you're using. Right.
Your gear, everything. Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the same thing that's going to attract the kids. Your kid does not want to sit there and watch you make contacts on the radio. Not going to happen. Your kid wants to help you. Your kid wants to do logging with you. Your kid wants to get on the air with you. Your kid wants to talk to Santa because they do that, talk to Santa on the air station every Christmas.
3916.
Yeah. The Santa Claus Net. So there's lots of ways to get kids interested. And the other one is the Youth on the Air Camp, which this year is not in the U.S. I think it's in Canada this year, but we'll talk more about it when we get closer to camp time. So Lots of different ways
GM
to get kids interested.
GMRS is also an option as well, because if you get your GMRS license, and you know, Ape has been studying for his for a couple of years now, and maybe one day he'll get it. But
Right, right.
your GMRS license, which is now $35 instead of 70,
Half price.
so bonus, the government cut the cost of something. That covers your entire family. So wife, kids, whatever. And Steve's idea is spot on. And hopefully my kid is not watching tonight. I'm pretty sure she's not, but that's
Shocker.
my plan, is to throw some GMRS radios out. And so she and her cousins live next door. So
Excellent.
the squad, as we refer to them. And, you know, I'm going to give her a radio, and she can lead their merry band of pirates out there to, you know, do whatever and get her interested in using a radio. I like the contact idea. If I did POTA or something, that would be kind of a way to get her involved. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can do POTA from inside the park, inside the car, in the
Right.
parking lot. There's a couple of different ways you could. You got a boat? Get that boat out there. Do some boat POTA.
BOTA.
Yeah, exactly.
BOTA.
So Lionel's asking, do either of you have a video out on setting up WinLink on Linux? Yes. Jason, KM4ACK, the Build-A-Pi, Raspberry Pi guru of the ham radio ham tubers, came on to Ham Nuggets and walked me through getting it all set up so that you guys could live vicariously through me and take notes and, you know, rewind and fast forward and so
Right.
forth as you're getting it all set up on your own Raspberry Pi system. And I need to dig that machine out and turn it on again and check to see if I have any emails, because I haven't used it for a while. I do need to get into WinLink Wednesday. So yeah, Build-A-Pi is a good way of getting it set up. And then, because he's got all the software. And the one thing that Jason did that makes it really sweet is it's hard to find a gateway. Like, even if you find your favorite gateway, at the time of day that you decide to go check your WinLink email, you may not be able to reach that gateway because of the magic of HF propagation.
Right.
So Jason has this script that he wrote that just goes out and checks all the gateways that he knows of and determines whether or not you can hear it. And, you know, if you can hear it, you can probably work it. So then you can try to send an email through it. So yes, on this channel, it's one of the Ham Nuggets episodes, and it's got my picture and Jason's picture on the thumbnail, and it says WinLink. So if you search for temporarily offline ham radio WinLink, it should pop right up for you. And then I don't know what this one is, but you started, Jim.
That was an accident.
All right, gone.
Unstarred.
Any advice on getting 9600 baud packet to work on FT991A? So the couple of things. There is what's called the Draws hat, which was specifically designed to use that 6-pin mini DIN connector that's on the back of the 991A, and there's a matching connector on the Draws hat. The Draws hat is a hardware attached at the top, or whatever hat stands for. It's an expansion card
It's
for
a
a Raspberry
dingus.
Pi.
It's
Yeah.
a dingus.
And it's from Northwest Digital Radio, the same place that we got our digital converters for the
Toads.
D-Star to DMR to Fusion
Yeah.
Gateway type stuff. That's part number one, is getting the hardware. You can also use a Cantronics TNC for that. And the next thing that you would need to do is, because you're talking like 2 meter, 70 centimeter work. So the person that you want to talk to is somewhere in your area. So go talk to them and take the radio with you, because it's 2 meters. So you guys could set up at, you know, the Club Shack and get this whole thing working, or ask your club if they can do a presentation or something, because somebody in the area owns the other end of that conversation, and they would be the best resource to talk to. There's supposed to be a packet network here, and I've got a Cantronics TNC, and I have a radio that has the 6-pin mini DIN connector that'll do the 9600 baud, and I have the pack rat for the Commodore 64 and the Commodore 64 itself, so I can even go like really old school with it. But I just haven't gotten that far, because again, there's 1,000 things to do in this hobby, and this
Does
isn't the time for that.
Hayden's a 991 guy.
Yeah.
Does he do packet? Maybe, I don't know. It might be
never
worth
mentioned
checking out his channel, but I don't know off the top of my head.
Man, I'm getting a lot of incomplete QSOs on FT8 tonight. A lot of people are starting conversations but not finishing them. So you've exhausted our knowledge on packet radio because I haven't done anything other than APRS, but you can use that same cable to connect to your machine. And actually, with APRS, you can use the USB sound card to connect to your Raspberry Pi and use Direwolf instead.
Right.
And that would get you your TNC, your KISS TNC, keep it simple, stupid TNC, terminal node controller, since we're expanding acronyms. So that's another way of doing it if you're just trying to do APRS packet radio.
I got a package today from Wisconsin.
Uh-oh. I don't remember this one.
My wife said, "Who is Jim MC Perry? Does that mean you?"
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And then she looked at the return address and she rolled her eyes and said, "Oh, one of your ham people."
Yep.
I said, "That's Steve."
Yeah.
Whatever.
And now I can't remember what. Oh, the microphones. Yeah.
The Comica things. Yeah. I didn't even open it yet. I got home and eat dinner and here. So
whenever I send Jim a package, I put his middle name down as something corny so he knows what's in the box. So the other one, I sent him some Raspberry Pis and I called him Jim the Pie Man Perry.
Right.
I hope that sticks.
It's like, what is that?
So, Scott, any more questions on Packet that might help us give you a better answer? Feel free to ask another question. Ask away. Anybody ask us any questions you got?
Well, now, so let me throw this out at you because I don't know, and it's on my to-do list, and it's on my to-do list soon. I want to set up a Digipeater and an iGate here at my QTH. I have an old ICOM 2 meter that I think I'm going to use for that. And my understanding is that, well, that's Packet, right? APRS is Automated Packet Reporting System.
It is. It's 1200 baud instead of 9600 baud.
It's not, the speed
there is
difference.
APRS 9600, but not a lot of people use it.
Okay. So the same hardware and the TNC and the Direwolf and all the same pieces would generally work to glue all this together. I haven't even looked at. I know the Vegas concepts of it and haven't messed with it beyond that.
Vegas concepts. We don't talk about
that's
what
code for
Vegas.
I Googled it for 3 minutes one afternoon before I went to the can. I mean, it's...
Yeah. So
I'm like, ooh, cool.
The speed limitation at 1200 or 9600 is a government regulation, not a computer.
Right.
The computer can talk.
Right.
Obviously, we're talking at hundreds of megabits per second, and the radio can talk faster. I'm not really sure what the upper limitation is on speed, like physical limitation on speed. There's a certain amount of speed that you can get out of like the ham radio band allotments, but the fastest thing that I have seen is 2.4 gigahertz internet, because hams have a 2.4 gigahertz range that overlaps with Wi-Fi.
With Wi-Fi, yeah.
And so you could actually do a ham radio only using all of your high power ham radio skills, 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi, as long as you didn't do anything encrypted or spend any money while you were online. So don't order a pizza. Well, order it, but don't pay for it. By email, unencrypted.
TJ, thank you. We appreciate that. That's kind of why we do it.
You guys re-sparked my interest. At 61, I'll be taking my Tech Gen test. I've put it off since I was 13. TJ, you got this. Hamstudy.org.
Yeah.
And then when you're ready, after doing that enough times and you feel like you've got 85% or better, go to hamstudy.org/sessions or click on the sessions link on top and schedule yourself a remote test. Probably better to schedule the remote test now and study to the deadline than it is to just study with no approaching doom and gloom on the other end of it. It'll give you a little bit more motivation, but you got this either way. If you take the tech test and pass, they will give you the ability to take the general test for free during the same session. Whether you think you're ready or not, take it anyway, because if you get the right VE, volunteer examiners, they might tell you where you need to polish up your studying. They won't tell you what answers you got wrong, probably, but they might tell you, like, work on the math a little bit or something along those lines. I've done a couple of videos on tips for how to pass the test and how to study for the test and those kind of things. So don't be afraid to memorize some things, because some of this stuff is plain memorization. What is the name of the line that separates US and Canada where you're not allowed to use 433 megahertz? There's no amount of math that's going to tell you the name of that line. It's called the A line. You just got to memorize that. How often do you need to repeat your call sign? You just got to memorize stuff like that. So don't be afraid of memorizing some of the answers. And another real quick tip before we move on to the next question is you can skip an entire section of the test and still pass. So if you're not comfortable with the math, skip all of them. Put an answer down, whatever, so you don't get, 0. You might accidentally get it right. But don't feel anxious about a section of the test that you're not really all that good at. So lots of different ways to pass the test, and we've done it. We've taken the test live a couple of times, and we keep passing them. So it can't be that hard. So we completed the QSO, and I logged it. So this is a bug that I have found. Let me share this out again. This is a bug that I have found in WSJTX here recently. You can see that we've completed the QSO a couple of times, and his side, it's not W5KY that has the problem, it's the software, because my side has done this also while I've been sitting there staring at it. He's stuck on the R13 segment of a finished QSO. And sometimes you can't get away from it because his station's stuck in a transmitter and hasn't watchdog timered out. So two things you can do with this. One is you can start calling CQ again and hope that he doesn't. Yep. So if I was calling CQ, I would automatically get that answer again. So the other thing is to switch to odd from even or even from odd, and then start transmitting again on the other side. And now you've moved away from him.
Lionel, have a good evening, brother.
See you later, Lionel. All right, next question. Chrissy's asking about G90. Do you need a DigiRig and cables? No, you don't need a DigiRig and cables. You do need some way of getting it from the computer to the radio, from the radio to the computer. I have a video on my channel about all of the settings you need to do it, and then they created a new firmware which changed one setting. Other than that, everything's fine. So you can go on, there's a link in my video on how to set it up for some cables you can get off of eBay. I see Don getting me on 20 meter FT8. For some cables you can get off of eBay, fairly cheap, like $15 or less, and plug that into your computer. And it's just a plain cable. And then you can also get the DigiRig, which is a little bit more expensive of an option. That creates an external USB sound interface. And then you can use the CE, Charlie Echo 19 device that Zygu sells. I highly recommend you stay as far away from that as humanly possible. Hot garbage does not begin to describe how horrible this is. Thank you for the contact, Don. And
Christiana, thank you for the super chat.
Oh, excellent. Thank you, Christiana. And the next device that Zygu made called Delta Echo DE19 is supposed to be a lot better. I have one sitting over there waiting for me to do a video on. And as soon as I get that video done, I'll be able to tell you how well or how bad that one works. And that will work with the G106, with the G90, and with the 5105 radio. And so will the cable that I have, I believe. And again, a video on my channel about how to G90 FT8. And I put it out like 2 weeks ago, I think. Maybe 3 at this point. So,
Lou, I don't have crud. I was just choking over the CE19. That's all.
It's bad.
I'm crud free at the moment.
It's really bad.
This month.
And then that was that question. And then David Enright, what logging software do you use for Linux? Let me bring up my screen again, because I have one that I use, and it's if you are using Ubuntu 22. That's funny. My video on how to do it came up in the search results on Google. If you're using Ubuntu 2004 or older, this software CQR log works fantastically. If you are using 2204, let me get back to that page. Too many windows open. If you're using 2204, it doesn't work. So the alternative to this CQR log has contest logging built in. It has DX cluster support built in. It has database call sign lookup built in. It has a SQL database backend. It's actually MySQL or MariaDB, depending on how you have it installed. So you can do all your regular queries and exports and so forth. It exports to ADIF. It imports from ADIF files. It has a fairly good looking interface. It'll tell you, if I start typing in your call sign, it'll tell me all the last calls that we've had together. So it's a fantastic piece of software. It just does not currently work with Ubuntu 2204. Yes, Ron, of course. Thanks, Ron. It will run on Windows if you run a Linux emulator. The other one is Hammers.
Run wine, Ron, then it'll run.
Right. And Hammers is a very, very lightweight logging platform. Hammers does a world map of your contacts like this. It will also do POTA spots like this. It will do your log entries that you've run through like this. All these green ones have gone through a reverse lookup to figure out, call sign to name. And this was specifically designed to do POTA logging. And it's a great program, and it will run on Mac OS, Windows, Ubuntu, Raspberry Pi, Apple iPhones, Google Androids, etc. The only thing that there's two things that are pretty major that it does not do, but I forgive it because it's like brand new software and Jared's still working on it. One is it doesn't do rig control, and the other one is it doesn't do data imports, which is like the biggest flaw that it has. It does do data exports. So once I get CQR log working on 2204 Ubuntu, I will be able to export from Hammers and import into CQR log. So those are my two top tips for Linux-based logging outside of like a spreadsheet. All right. So, and I'm not watching the chat because I'm too busy answering questions.
I'm watching the chat and listening. I'm also typing in the chat, so I'm multitasking.
I do miss the chat when I'm doing something like this.
I'm keeping up with it. We're talking airplane stuff too, so that's kind of cool.
RI41POL, which I got to figure out who that is. So here's another tip for you, qrz.com/db/RI41POL. If you type in qrz.com/db/callsign and press enter, it will go right to the call sign. So that's a nice boat. Looks like a big fish. RI41POL, so Russian contact. That's pretty cool. This first guy doesn't look very happy to be in the picture.
He's also wearing his hat. If I wore my hat like that in the Air Force, my TI would have smacked me back to the middle of next week.
What's wrong with it? Too high?
It's way too high. He said, "You ain't in Hogan's Heroes." Those are Russians, though, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So that was what we referred to as our bus driver hats in the Air Force.
All right, so Andy did a POTA with my college kid Sunday. He logged for me and was very hyped when we got Spain. Also talked about the colleges on the air, and he was excited about that. Is CODA a thing that is happening? CODA is a thing that's happening. I am not the ringleader of it. There is a CODA section on Toad's Discord. There's a link in the description down below for the friendliest place this side of the QRZ. And Joe Brett, you missed all the spicy stuff. So we're done with spicy questions. Thank you very much for all the spicy questions, folks. Joe Brett, welcome back. So CODA, colleges on the air, it's exactly like POTA, only you activate college campuses instead of parks. And Spain, there's a little story about Spain that the Lion Hawaiian Bo KH7FC shared with me. There is apparently a group of Spaniards that work parks on the air stations, and when one guy gets a good contact across the pond or something, he'll get on the local repeater and tell all of his friends. So when you get one Spanish station, expect like 3 more right away.
Oh, that would be cool.
It is.
That'd be great.
Neat. I was super excited. I'm like, guys, I just got like 4 contacts from Spain. And Bo's like, oh yeah, it happens all the time. Thanks, Bo.
Wow, talk about a harshing the brothers buzz right there, man.
It is pretty exciting that they do that, though. That's pretty neat. Like, get on the local repeater and tell all their friends. That's pretty cool. Don wants to know, can I explain CESSB and ESSB? Yes, I can. No, not on this show.
I was not ignoring you. You were in the queue, Don. I saw that question a long time ago. Just say it.
It's a new form of SSB, and really the person that you want to talk to about CESSB is Hollywood. Hollywood would give you everything you ever wanted to know.
He is not in the chat tonight. I hadn't seen him tonight, so.
He already knows everything I know, so he's not going to come here and ask me questions.
Well, that's true. That probably is like, yeah, why would I do that? So I don't know. I've never even heard of the terms. So
do you all have any options on the Kenwood TS440 radios?
Zach, a little more 411 on that, my friend. I didn't really know what he wanted. It was a question, so.
I think I have a TS430. Let me check.
What was the one we were talking about today?
I've got a 430S.
What was the one we were looking at today?
480
in Josh's
SAT.
480?
480 SAT, S-A-T. And I don't remember if you guys answered the question or not. The A-T is auto tuner. What's the S?
Yes.
Because it's not satellite.
That's it. It's not satellite. That's the only thing. I pulled it up. It's got an auto tuner. It's a 100-watt radio. And it covers HF and 6 meters. I think it says it's like 30 kilohertz to 60 megahertz, I believe. And if I didn't have two HF radios sitting out in the shop that I haven't done anything with to even try and use yet, I would probably have bought it, but I don't need another radio right now.
CESSB is built into the Flex and a couple of other high-end radios. Flex Radio has a very good video explaining CESSB. I believe I watched that. There's another one out there, and yeah, it's a different way of doing single sideband work that's supposed to be even more crystal clear, high-fidelity audio. But I don't have a radio that can do it, so.
Okay, Don, what does the S in 480 SAT stand for? Is it anything specific, or is it just a 480S that has an auto tuner? Or is it Ted says it's 200 watts.
Oh, the 480 or the 440? The 440 is 200 watts.
Okay.
I can't imagine the 480 is.
I don't know. I don't know any Kenwood model numbers except D74 because I have one.
I now have two of the three radios I chose for HF, 7300, 891, and the third would be a 480 SAT. Those are three very good radios. I think the 480 has an auto tuner and it also is a Shack in a Box radio, but I don't know. The 480HX, the 480S with an auto tuner is what the SAT is, and the HX is the 200 watt radio. And in case you didn't believe Arnold, Don says the HX is a 200 watt radio, and in case you don't believe Don, Ted says the HX is a 200 watt radio. So I think we have consensus, because Ted actually said it twice. So I'll give it to Ted.
Yeah, the HX is 200, okay, and the S is just a 480S with an auto tuner. Is it like a 3-to-1 auto tuner, Don, like in the 7300 or that kind of thing, where it is a tuner, it's not the world's greatest tuner? Somebody had one mentioned in I think 2.0's swap chat today on Discord.
Yeah.
That and a 7300.
So that's what got me talking about it. It's a ham with a baby on the way, so he's selling some radio gear to make room for baby.
That's a shame.
I know, people shouldn't have kids. I said congratulations anyway, though.
I didn't see that part. I missed that part. I just was a little mercenary. I was contemplating whether I was going to buy that Kenwood or not.
You've never seen this show before. That was sarcasm.
We can be snarky. We can be snarky.
Can't be too serious in ham radio. Everybody else is.
Don said the 480 is a 3-to-1 tuner unit. Yeah, and that's right. And it has a removable front end faceplate on it.
Yep.
Because I think that's why the guy wanted to get rid of his 7300. He'd been using it mobile, and I don't remember his call sign, but
yeah, he's an over-the-road trucker, so he's got plenty of room in the truck for a big radio like that. So
yeah,
man, if I was an over-the-road trucker, I'd definitely have a big radio instead of a little whatever. NC1PA is contacting me now. Jim, are you on FTA? Are you playing?
I'm on. I haven't turned it on because it's over to the side, but
I just moved over to 40 meters.
Is that where you at?
I am on 7074. Oh, you know what we talked about? We talked about doing this on a different frequency.
Yes.
Kids is yet another 4-letter word. Yes, it is. Having kids takes away money that you could better spend on radios.
On fun things other than children.
All right, Jim. What do you think? What are you thinking for a frequency?
I would say we need to go to 40 meters would be my guess.
So I am on 40 meters. So what we're going to try and do, folks, while we've got a lull in the conversation now, we're going to try and QSY and do FT8 with you guys in the chat on a different frequency. And I don't even know how to do that in the first place other than spin the dial.
Yeah, I'm using SDR control, so I'm not. I also need to change my screen here.
And none of my menus are dropping down.
I had it on the right side monitor over here, and it's kind of hard to even come close to facing the camera and see that monitor. All right, I'm on 7074. Where do you want to move to?
Well, first well, in order to do that, I was like, my menus aren't working. Let me exit the software by clicking the file menu and choosing exit, which did work. That was weird. Configurations, view.
Yeah, I thought I can just type in a number and change it.
So first I got to spin the, whoops, sorry. First I got to spin the dial and find an open frequency. So let's go 3 down, 7071. Oh, Well, we're actually only 50 hertz wide at this point. Let's go up. I'm looking at my waterfall, 707.
So TJ, do you still have your? Have you ever gotten your license, or you're working on it at this point? Dan mentioned 7056, so let's try that.
So this is one of the things that you can do with this software that I have not done yet. And that's what Nuggets is all about, is doing something that we've never done before. There's something there on my side. Oh, somebody's doing Morse code.
That's my darn tuner. I don't even know what that means. I've never bothered to decode what that thing is bitching about.
It's probably saying SWR. But I was talking about at 7056, somebody was doing that. All right, so I'm at 7058, and I'm going to call CQ. Let's see if this actually works. Hey, it works. 7058.
It just CQ. as soon as I keyed up, it changed me to 7074. Manual. There we go. That's weird.
Settings. Radio.
7058. Is that what you said?
Yeah, 7058 is where I'm calling right now.
Okay, I'm on. And apparently KD9ENV is on. Because somebody's calling me.
Oh, cool. Leave it to Jim to have issues.
Shut up, Joe Brett.
He's still sore from Saturday when you wouldn't talk to him. Oh, I see Ron.
Oh, yeah. So after all that drama, yeah, I talked to him the other day. I said, hey, let's do FT8 on 80 meters. Oh, my antenna can't do no 80 meters because they're cutting trees and it's not up and I can't tune it. Really, Joe? Because ain't nothing else we're going to be able to talk on. He's too close for every other kind of HF and too far for VHF.
Y'all boys go out in the backyard and string you a Nevis antenna.
Be about right, Joe Brett.
K5YVY. Ron, I'm calling you, and I see KS0JD. KS0JD, I'll get you as soon as Ron and I finish our little Linux to Windows conversation here. Hey, Jeff. Jeff KS0JD. JD being Jeff Darby. But hey Jeff N4POD. Hey Jeff.
The Jeff Army's here. That's right. Oh. Joe Brett and I have Ham Shack Hotline. We've actually communicated on it. I'd have to plug my phone back in, Joe.
So my phone got blowed up.
I think I told you I smoked one of mine too because it's not 24 volts. It was like 5 or something.
I sent one to Liberty Cave and I haven't seen him in a while. And then Sideboom wanted one. So I sent one to Sideboom and Sideboom got all cocky. He's like, I know what kind of power this thing takes. Plug, smoke, done. So I got no phones.
All right, I'm calling CQ. I see Ron out there, and I see N1NRL showing up. I see KM. No, I see you, Steve.
Excellent. I see Don making the call. Don, I'll be able to work you easy. I'm coming for you next, brother.
I'm calling CQ.
Plus 19, plus 14. That's a good signal, Jeff. Jeff, I don't know that I actually completed your side of the QSO. Let's do that.
Well, we have a question, Steve.
10 meter FM is really good lately. 29600 is a simplex frequency, yet I'm picking up a reflector from Texas. Is this basically a simplex repeater? Yes. So there are 10 meter repeaters, and you can configure them the same way you configure 2 meter repeaters with privacy tones and split operation and so forth. The 7300 has it built in. And whenever 10 meters is open, you will start to hear a repeater out of New York that you can work. So yeah, you probably are hearing a repeater somewhere, but I don't know if there's actually a 10 meter repeater, because I don't know. There probably is, but 10 meter repeater frequency allocation area.
Does it use the same? What's the standard offset for 10 meters? Is it same as VHF or is it different?
I don't know.
Like
Let's,
6 meters is like, I think, a megahertz offset, 1 megahertz offset. I think. I can't remember, and I wondered about 10 meters.
Perhaps if there was some vast repository of knowledge that was
Right.
searchable.
Ted, thank you for coming, man. Appreciate it.
Repeaters.
Safe drive. Yes, Joe Brett, our not hooked up excuses cancel out completely. But see, Ape was taunting you. He was goading you on, wasn't he?
I did
Ape
say
is bad for you, Jeff or Joe.
New York. There we go. That took a minute. 10 meters. And I have made a contact on this 10 meter repeater in New York. And he was saying 29,600.
Jeff said it's 100 kilohertz offset for 10 meters.
Yeah, you can see it on the screen now. I want to say.
Okay.
and
Yeah, I'd never looked.
They run in FM mode. And then, like I said, you do the same PL tones and good set. So let's do Rochester. So downlink 2968, uplink 2958. And the uplink tone is 123. And it's on the air. Are you hearing RF from my station, Jim, in your ears?
No,
Don, where'd you go? So this is pretty neat. It's toads only in the waterfall.
I've got KR5 triple E. Y'all raise your hand, whoever's KR5 triple E. Shout out in the chat. Because I don't know all you guys' call signs. Some of them, like Don's, stick in my head.
And 5 SKT.
Oh, Izzo? Oh, man, I feel bad now because I don't remember yours.
W1FYG.
Yeah, something like that. I remembered F and G. I couldn't remember everything else.
So Wick Wilkinson is asking about the Messi and Poloni sleeve for waterproofing. Yes, fantastic. We did talk about that. Chris, Casey.
Awesome, Randall.
PIB. It's been a long time since we made an FT8 contact. Good to see you, Chris. Randall, that's KR5 triple E.
Yeah, I got Randall. I gotta say, it's a whole lot less crowded.
Yeah.
This is a better neighborhood. This is like fashionable East FT8 or something.
Exactly. So yeah, this left-hand side of the decode, the band activity window is pretty cool when it's all call signs that you know.
Hey Shane, before you go unplug the coax, just wait, man. Unless you see lightning in the sky, it's all right.
Yeah, you should only unplug it when you actually see lightning. Like try and anticipate it.
Just try and be fast, you know.
So K7SW, Kevin's asking, can he make his KX2 do FT8? Yes.
I think you can probably FT8 almost any radio.
Yeah. It
just depends on the amount of willpower you're wanting to put into it.
So Kevin, here's a trick for you. Get FT8 radio on your Android phone, or just use a regular laptop. It doesn't matter. Have your KX2 tuned to 7074 and playing FT8 sounds into the air, and then use your phone or your laptop with its microphone active to decode. And it will decode with that air gap between the radio and the computer because FT8's that good. And then if you want to hold the PTT button with the microphone up to the speaker on the laptop, you'll actually be able to transmit also. W9 TSB.
Jeff Darby, I'm working you right now. I'm assuming that's Jeff Darby. I think it is because
JD.
KS0JD.
Yep, that's Jeff Darby. So yeah, Kevin, I did that by accident once. I had my laptop set up in the back of the car, and I had my radio sitting next to it, and I was just listening to FT8, and I had the wrong sound card configured, and all of a sudden I'm decoding signals. Like, where is this coming from? It was coming from the air.
Well, Randall, apparently you did a good job with the NFED because you came in here at a +9, dude. So I've got a DX Commander. We don't have any storms. It may or may not rain here tomorrow night, but Ron, I saw you rolling through the thing yet.
W9 TSB, isn't that the hammock radio?
I don't know.
And then Tony, welcome. Tony's going to come on Coffee and Ham Radios, and we're going to ask him some legal questions. Tony is fantastic.
When is Tony coming on the show?
December. Got to give him time to prepare his dossier.
I've been following Tony lately a lot because he's had some really good stuff on there.
Yeah.
Tony, you're probably the only lawyer I would actually listen to and trust because you're a ham and you seem reasonably cool. I have another buddy who's a lawyer, and he's a good guy, but he'll straight up tell you, I'm an ambulance chaser. I'm like, well, at least you're honest, son.
Showed up for work today. Can't blame a man for working.
That's right. Yeah, if you guys are interested, Tony has a very good channel, and Tony, if you will put your channel name in the chat, we'll give you a shout out. And he's had some ham radio related legal things. That whole emergency thing was great.
So we got a question. I don't know what's going on with this, but questions again. How rigid is the DX Commander mast? I'm thinking about one of his masts to hold up a section of my 80-meter loop. So Kevin, how tall are you trying to get it? How high off the ground are you trying to get it, etc.? They're fishing poles essentially. So at the very far extended end, the highest end up, you can't see me waving my hand up in the air because it's way up there, is really, really thin. So if you wanted to like drop 4 sections down, you're going to lose like 4 feet maybe, depending on which mast of his you get. It'll be, this thick instead of this thick. So KO4BEE. Excellent. And it will hold up the antenna. He does have his Nebula mast. The Nebula mast starts at the base, this big around. It's ridiculous how big this thing is. And then it's like 3 stories tall, 4 stories tall. It's ginormous. You have to invent a new word. It's so big. But yeah, it's a great mast. It just depends on how high you want to get the 80-meter loop off the ground. And then which mast you buy and so on. He's got fantastic shipping. And I do believe we found out that you missed the sale because he has adjusted his prices to account for the current inflation that's killing the UK right now. So there was a period where he had his old prices that hadn't caught up with inflation, and you could get a fantastic sub $300 DX Commander.
I was fixing to buy a backup, an emergency DX Commander and 200 or 300 meters of DX50, but
yeah,
I would have had to sell a kidney. So. Let's see. Let me see, going back through the questions. Yeah, the side pull, there's going to be some side pull, and you can also use, Don has the carbon fiber mast from, Don, did you get that from Gigaparts? I've got a fiberglass mast from Gigaparts. And there's going to be some flex, and they're both probably a little stouter than the DX Commander pole, I would say. So, Steve, tell us about your pole there, buddy.
Yeah, so this is the DX Commander 10-meter Poda Soda Expedition pole. And so it's just bigger than the frame. There you go. So that's the size of that pole. And it feels like it's heavier than the other 10-meter pole, but I think that's because of density. And then this is the top section here. And for comparison's sake, this is a standard pen. So you can see that the pen is wider than the pole is. Can't do that on camera. The pen's almost twice as wide as the pole is. And then this top section here, I'm trying not to break it, but that's a good, perpendicular bend on it. And then I went to the local fishing store and I got a fishing hook and epoxied it to the top.
A dingus.
Yeah, so now I can just raise up whatever antenna I want. And I use this with like the top 2 or 3 sections collapsed. I put an end-fed half wave on it. And this is the pole that I used on my Kilo.
What? Arnold, what are you talking about?
Arnold got the deal and you didn't.
Double check that. Arnold, are you taunting me, son? I feel like I'm being taunted. Did you get the DX Commander Classic? Or which model did you get?
Yeah. So I do have the regular 10-meter mast, which is the tall boy compared to this one. This is the 10-meter mast, but it's the short one for backpacking, and I like taking this one backpacking. And that one has been erect for 4 years of Wisconsin winter. What are you laughing at, Jim?
Apparently, Anthony watches Saturday Night Live Celebrity Jeopardy, because I get that one too, Anthony. If that's what you intended, I get it. And if it isn't, that's what I'm thinking. Do you ever see Celebrity Jeopardy on Saturday Night Live?
Yes. Suck it, Trebek.
I'll take the penis mightier.
I'll take the rapist for 1,000, Alex.
The rapist for 1,000.
That's therapist, Sean. Therapist. Yeah.
That's not what your mother said.
Fantastic.
Oh,
yeah,
Lord.
so the 10-meter regular mast from DX Commander has been up in my yard for 4 winters now. I had to manually take it down to fix some wind issues. I did some videos on that, but it's been out in the weather ever since I got it, and I've taken it down once, and it really didn't even need to come down then, but I wanted to give it a little bit of extra attention. And I've been trying to do kind of a torture test. And Don, N5SKT, is doing the opposite torture test. So I'm doing the minus 35 Fahrenheit torture test in 50 mile an hour straight line winds. And Don's doing the plus 110 torture test in direct sunlight. And so we're seeing both ends of the spectrum on there. My antenna's winning so far, though, Don. Mine doesn't have any of the cracks on the UHMPW, the white plates, the spreader plates.
Well, now he's got 3 or 4 different. He's upgraded those plates 3 times too, because I think within the last 6 or 8 months, maybe he's done a thicker version of the plates. Maybe, I don't remember. He's always tinkering with the exact setup of it. The antenna is basically the same, but if you don't have a DX Commander, and this is not an advertisement for Callum,
Sure.
we're not getting paid by Callum.
We're not getting paid, but we'll give him all the free advertisement we can. He's a good
That
guy.
antenna is awesome, y'all. It's great. Yes, you can throw up something easier, but man, oh man, it's awesome. And mine's been up for a year and a half, and I live in Alabama, so winter is what you guys call late spring. But
You don't have winter.
we had not. Once every 4 or 5 years, it snows for a few minutes, and we all freak out, and that's it. I don't, but the natives lose their minds. It's an awesome antenna. If you follow Callum's instructions, cut the wires the way Callum mentions it. I didn't even fool with checking the tuning before I put it up. I came in close enough for ham. Rock on. It was great. It's a good antenna. Very solid design.
Thank you, Dan. Jeff, where did it go? Jeff's saying that his Samalex power supply just stopped working. So you can turn it on, but no power out. Interesting.
Did you check the fuse?
Yeah. Check all the easy stuff. Was it plugged in?
Don said he's going to replace his plates on his DX Commander.
Tony says he gets 7 days of winter every year. Tony, if only. I wish.
Ron Walensky, I'm coming at you. Don't tase me, bro.
Is that a Windows to Windows contact?
No, this is from a Mac, Ron.
Oh, he's not going to complete it then. He's going to say
He
I'm better
probably-
than you.
Jeff, I had to ask, man.
Yeah, we always ask the simple ones. I try to do it a little more PC than Jim does. Jim just comes right out and calls you a fool. I at least act like I'm the fool and got to ask the dumb questions. And sorry to bother you.
I'm trying to think of what else that would be on that power supply.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to get out and start tracing circuits. It's probably one of the voltage regulators that went.
Yeah, that was kind of my guess. Does it smell funny?
Oh,
Because that could be a cap popped.
Ron is working a Linux machine.
He says, but Pixar, it didn't happen, is what I'm saying.
Right?
Because we know Ron loves his Winders.
We need some more questions in the chat.
Yeah, really. We
Okay,
got
Joe
about
Brett.
20 minutes left.
Bring it at me, Joe Brett. I still may refuse to answer, but bring it at me.
Cape Cod, we answered this before you got here, my friend. Steve, take it away once again.
Yes, there is a new and improved version of the FT8 off coming. It will not be the same concept as before. Totally new concept, shorter version of the game, more games per session, and more winners. So and levels of winners. So stay tuned for that. We're waiting for some software development, and our software developers have been busy. But yeah, we've got the ability. It's not Linux, it's Raspberry Pi. Oh, so Ron's saying that it's going to be Raspberry Pi running Windows. That
One of y'all call 911. I'm having a stroke right now.
Is that an aneurysm I see on your forehead?
I think it is, and it's about to burst. Oh, my God, Ron Walensky.
Did you have to unspin your DX Commander wire, or is yours not as old as mine? Oh, yeah, I got the hand wrapped, the hand spun instead of the cardboard spool wire.
Oh, I got yeah.
When Callum first started selling the antennas, he had this little drilled dingus contraption that he made with a counter on it, and he'd and then stop. And then he would open the fingers up and pull the wire off and hand it to you, and then there you go. Yeah, that's the one that I got. I got two segments of that wire. I built a ton of antennas with the excess wire because I believe I got the 80-meter version, but didn't know it when it arrived. I forgot. And it doesn't take long to get here. That's just how bad my memory is. And so I made the regular 40-meter DX Commander Classic, and then with all the leftover wire, I made an 80-meter dipole. I made a 20-meter vertical with 4 quarter wave radials. I made a bunch of other antennas out of it.
Don, you're older than us, even me. Just saying.
So Don, I got both versions of the wire. So you're saying there's a third version out there? There's the one where he just ships you the spool of wire that he gets custom made. There's one where he made a spool of wire for you. And are you saying there's a third version? Because I don't know about this third version.
Ron, there you go. Keep the faith, man. I knew Windows was involved.
It has to be.
I got mine. I got mine like a year and a half ago, and I ordered an extra spool of wire with
That would
it.
be nice.
And mine came all on the cardboard reels.
All right, I'm going to start an argument in the chat. What is the newest version of Windows that you will use? I stop at Windows 7.
I'm using Windows 11. I ain't got no
By-
problem with it.
By choice?
Yeah. Yeah. I've got it on my Minis Forum Windows computer back here. And my gaming Windows computer that the kid also plays on has got Windows 11 on it. Works fine. My VM on the Mac is on 10 because I don't feel like rebuilding it to jigger around the TPM BS that Microsoft threw in there.
Yeah.
Which just irritates me, but other than that, it's the same. I got Windows 10 on my older Dell out in the shop because I don't
You guys
feel like
must all be
messing with
young.
it.
I hear a lot of 10 and 11 here. I don't know. When Windows 8 came out and my desktop turned into Microsoft's desktop and no longer was mine, and I'm like, I'm not doing
Now,
this.
Being older, and you're not that much younger than me, McGrain, but
I'm like
I will
20
say
years
that for a long time, it's not that much younger, son. It goes
20?
faster. It's logarithmic.
Ugh.
So, like Windows 95, and these are old statements, okay? Windows 95 was all right. Windows 98 was better.
NT351.
ME sucked. 2000 was solid. It was like NT with a new skin on it. It was good. And then came XP, which was usable. And then, am I getting this? And then 7 came after XP? Right.
No, yeah, no, 2000?
2000
then
came
XP?
after 98.
Okay.
XP 2000, they're close together. They may be first
Yeah.
cousins.
XP
in
was like a
time.
facelift to 2000.
And then Windows 8 was, Windows 8. Oh, no, I forgot. I forgot the other one.
Oh, Vista,
Uh,
yeah.
I wasn't going to say its name because I was afraid it might show up. That was a flaming piece of crap. Yeah. And then 8 wasn't much. And then 7 came after Vista. That's right. 7 came after Vista. 7 was solid. Never had any problems with
Right.
7. 8 was just, what the hell is this? And then, yeah, Jody, that's right. Vista was after XP.
The Windows ME project manager was Melinda Gates. Oh, that kind
Yeah.
of explains where their marriage went.
There
I'm
you
kidding.
go.
I'm kidding.
There you go. I'm not kidding. There you go.
I know nothing about that relationship.
Randall, that's what Windows ME, man. That's Millennium Edition. Yeah, that was a turd. And
Windows
then Vista,
for work groups, nice.
we started using that when I still worked for the state, and I thought it was so cool. It actually worked. Didn't really still have any real use because all of our programs were DOS, but
File sharing, man, easy file sharing.
yeah, that was what I used it for, was to
Because
move
before
wares
that, it
around. I
was-
mean, to move files around for work.
Before that, it was either LANtastic or Novell NetWare. What are you going to choose? The tiny RAM LAN.
Oh no. Never did Novell. Not once have I ever touched a Novell machine. We had 3Com, 3 Plus Share, and then 3 Plus Open, which was on OS2.
Ooh.
Which, when you booted it up, it was OS2, and it said copyright Microsoft on it. Because 3 Plus Open was a collab. It used Microsoft's Landman networking stuff running under OS2.
Yeah. So Arnold is saying, notice how they didn't have a Windows version 9. And then he's saying the Germans wouldn't like it. 9. So the funny part about that is there's a rumor, and I don't know how true it is, that when they went from 8 to 10, they had to skip 9 because the code that checked which version of Windows you were running on would have thought you were running on Windows 95 or 98 instead. Oh, abnormal end. Yeah, I can say that. I'd say
Yep. That's
what is that,
IBM.
AS400, System 36.
IBM 360s.
Yep. So you can actually get a lot of like System 36 software today. I find that amazing that people are coding software for that machine, and like it runs on Linux, it runs on Raspberry Pi, it runs on System 36. What?
I bought Warp, and I upgraded my 486 to 16 megabytes of RAM, so I could run Warp for the 3 or 4 months that it was a thing.
So this is a funny story. I got my CNA, Certified Netware Associate, for Novell 311, and then I started working on Novell 4 CNE track. And then right when that happened, Microsoft came out for the first time ever with their MCSE certification, Microsoft Certified Systems Engineer. And immediately my thought was, oh, this is just a money-making scheme. This is just BS. And I stopped doing certifications from that point forward. So, because the CNA and my Adaptec SCSI certification got me far in my career.
Anthony DeWitt, Turbo Pascal 3, 4, 5, 6, and kind of stopped around 7.
Yeah, I did some Turbo Pascal 6.
I coded BBS software.
Look at that, K5Y,
Did a bunch of shareware for Quick BBS and worked on Quick BBS back in the 80s and late 80s, early 90s, all in Turbo Pascal. Yeah. Christiana Vax, PDP. My first computer I ever screwed with was when I was in high school, and it was a PDP 1170. And then I had a PDP 1123 in my living room after I got rid of She Who Cannot Be Named for a while until my current wife let me marry her.
PDP.
I don't get that. What does that mean?
The front panel switches.
Oh yeah, I know, but I use 2 fingers, man.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
I'm
I've
a
never used
professional.
one.
Jeff, I did work on Quick BBS.
Yeah, so Jody's saying that he didn't care if the people that he hired were. Whoa, where did it go? It just bounced. There it is. He didn't care if the people that he hired were certified or not. They must pass the interview gauntlet. That is absolutely correct. I was on an airplane and we're sitting at the jetway, and the runway was crowded, and they're like, we're gonna take a few minutes. There's something going on the runway, and we're just gonna wait here. So they turned off all the lights, and everybody went and sat down, and they said we won't be answering calls or anything. Thank you, Jason. And the one guy sitting next to me across the aisle had a book in his hand that said VMware ESX Exam Cram, which was a study guide you could get. And he wanted to turn the light on so he could read the book. And he reached up, and there's two choices. And he pushed the button and called the stewardess. And the stewardess came back, turned the light off, and said, "We're not taking any requests right now." And she turned around and left because she was the boss. And this guy was paralyzed. He had no idea at this point, given that there was only one choice left, and he already made the other choice, and it was wrong and off the table at this point. There was only one choice left on how to turn the light on, and he couldn't do it. He couldn't figure it out. So I got up, walked across the aisle, pushed the light button, and sat back down. And he's going to be your certified VMware expert.
I had CCNA for, I don't know, 6 or 8 years back in the 90s and early 2000s. Because where I worked, he needed so many CCNAs so we could get our Cisco discount. And I could have cared less about it.
Right,
and
Ryan?
I've had a CISSP since 1997 or 8. Don. Shut up, Don. And that's the only cert I even keep up. And I'm at the point now in my life and my career that I don't give a crap about that cert anymore because I'm tired of paying them money and I'm tired of caring about the CEUs. So
I decided when I did a interview, I was going to ask people some non-technical problem-solving type questions just to see, leadership and initiative and that kind of thing. And I'm like, you find yourself in a dark room with no lights on and 2 doors. What do you do? You'd be surprised how many people got stuck, just absolutely frozen. There was no wrong answer.
I turn right and I open the door.
Yeah, it was. I have some internal leadership ability to at least lead myself. I look for a light switch. If I can't find a light switch, I fumble for a doorknob and open the door. And then, move on to the next part of the exercise, But wow.
Don, by the way, is harshing on my CISSP because Don is the reason we have CISSPs and security people.
I think Don is keeping a tally. You know how we used to play bingo on Coffee and Ham Radios? I think Don's keeping a tally of how many times his name is said during a stream. He currently holds the record of audience member with the most name drops in a stream.
I never got an MCSE cert. I never even tried to get one of those because I never cared and I was never any place that worried about it. And like I said on the CCNA, if we hadn't been pimping Cisco, I wouldn't have bothered with it. I just did it to make my boss shut up. Joe Brett, I see you in my waterfall over here.
I got him.
But I've been calling CQ and
I see you trying to get him.
I ain't getting no love. I need me some of that Mississippi love. I ain't got you either, Steve.
I'm actually calling you direct right now. What are you, even or odd?
I am odd.
All right, so I will go to even, and then I will enable. So what I did was I just typed his call sign here in the first part, and then doing that, and I'm just going to blind call him. Ryan, I am interested in the GROL. I have a nice study guide for it from Liberty Cave. Way too much radio and way too little Steve. Oh, I see you calling CQ. You're a 7.
TJ, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. Ooh. And I'm glad it's given you the motivation to do it. I didn't get my ticket until 3 years ago. This month. I've known about ham radio all my life. I've had a buddy that was a ham for, probably since the 70s or 60s, and I just never did it then, and finally got around to doing it.
So, TJ, if you are not in the Toads Discord, be sure to grab the link in the description down below and join us over on Toads Discord. It's a free program, and it's a communications forum where we just sit and talk like this all day long anyway. So, we all hang out and, lots and lots of support and love from the community. W5PIA. W5IPA is Jason. I don't know W5PIA. If anyone cares, today in history, first person to go over Niagara Falls in a barrel.
Izzo, that's awesome.
Annie Taylor was 63 years old and survived. I think when she got out of the barrel, she said, "I don't recommend that."
W1BUS, I got you.
That's Dan. Dan says, "Thanks, Jim. Took a while." So we have three
Oh, wow.
3/6 of the Ham Radio Clubhouse in the stream tonight. So if you guys are, bored on a Tuesday night, go over to Ham Radio Clubhouse and check out their stream. It is this side of the radio, K5YBY Amateur Radio, Smoke Signals RF, We Build, We Learn, who is Molson, and Beer Snack, Dan Beer Snack. And I haven't seen Beer Snack in a while. And they do a fantastic job of keeping us entertained on Tuesday nights.
And
You're welcome, Joe.
does Molson even do videos?
He used to. He did something about making a ice skating rink in his backyard.
Yeah, that was like last Christmas or winter, I think.
I had to give Shane a hard time because Shane hasn't put out a video in a long time either.
I was getting to Shane. I was going to mention Shane. Joe is trying to atone lately. He's been Joe's been getting busy over in Mississippi.
Oh, he did a controversial video tonight.
I hadn't seen Joe's tonight yet. I was eating
making
dinner.
a half IP, half RF ham radio contact. I don't know, Joe. I'm calling you, Jim. You don't see me at all. I see you.
I'm not seeing you now. I got Toad's rule.
They do. I didn't get that. Yeah,
it won't let me call that.
You
All
are
right,
12.
I'm calling right now. And it switched to even.
Hybrid contacts, that's right. Partial zero emissions contacts. Oh, Don.
Who let Don find the Google?
The first transcontinental telegraph message was sent from San Francisco to Washington, D.C. in 1861. The first east-west coast communications.
Oh, we have a new question.
Oh, is TOADS an acronym for something? No, it's actually not an acronym for anything. I just wanted it to be something that we could all be a part of. I worked for a company a long time ago that had a 4-letter acronym, and they kept changing the definition of it. So I was like, I'm just going to throw 4 letters together and see what sticks. And TOADS stuck. So there we go.
We've heard that it stood for TO and Apes Discord server. That's one of the rumors.
That is not correct, but that is one of the rumors. And
TO
there was a little
Ape
competition
Discord
in there for a
service,
while.
yeah.
So Anthony says we should have a junior version of Toads. So I think it was Ron and NAWCR who came up with this one. It's Polywogs is the junior version.
Oh, that would be right. Yeah.
I do like some basic code. Quick Basic was the last greatest version of Basic, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
I actually missed that. It was a fun language to program in.
I did a lot of Basic on the Commodore 64 and a fair amount on the PC. I learned
Basic was hard.
I learned Basic on the DEC 1170 because I'd copy stuff out of the games account. I was not a student at the community college, but my buddy, who was a couple years ahead of me, was out there learning RPG and COBOL and Fortran and all that. So I asked him about it one night, and he drugged me out there with him, and I sat down and I logged into his account using his password, Don, and discovered the mysteries of the PDP 1170 and started teaching myself Basic with all the games that were on the system.
So Jim is from the Air Force. He's not going to know what an honorable shellback is. And then
I don't get that.
Cape Cod, it's a Navy thing. Getting up early and marching. He hated Basic. That's hilarious. And then Phil says he thought that Toads had something to do with my girls. No, it would be Toadettes. No? Crickets? No? Okay. Borland Turbo Basic greater than Microsoft Quick Basic. I did not use Turbo Basic, but I did use Turbo Pascal, so I probably can agree with that. Oh, Cape Cod totally understands the shellback reference, and he was Air Force, so he's got you. So, Lou, correct me if I'm wrong, because I was not Navy or Air Force, but shellback is when you cross the equator via ship in the Navy, you become a shellback. Is that right?
Joe Brett, I see you in the waterfall, and I'm calling CQ, and that's all I got. I don't see you, buddy. You ain't showing up on my display.
So we'll wait for the shellback response, and then we'll drop off of this. Joe Brett says FEP Labs is not going to respond. Ask me how I know. Yeah, I
Look here.
moved on.
Look here, son. There you are, right there.
This is SDR control for Mac.
Yeah, this is SDR control. This is on the Mac talking to my 7610. And here's me calling CQ.
Joe Brett, get him in your hybrid communications. Oh, golden shellback when you cross the equator and the international date line at the same time. And Lou says I was right. Those are two of my favorite words. What is the name for the Android decoder app that I like? So there is FT8 Radio is the name of it. I wish they would have called it FT8 Droid, but it's called FT8 Radio. It's like $9.99. Not bad at all. Adam Kimmerly K6ARK has a video out where he used it to do a soda with a true SDX type radio. And there's a new one coming out soon. I'll have a video out on it once I'm allowed to do the release, the press release on it. But there's another one coming out soon. So I'll be expecting a video on next Monday night's Monday Night Ham Radio, Joe. Ooh, you swam across the international date line. That's awesome. Does FEP Labs Radio know how to respond to FT8 contacts?
Oh, he's saucy tonight.
That's his 9 to 5 job, folks. That's all he does all day long.
I mean, I think Ape is feeding him stuff on the other, in Discord or something. They might be on the telephone. Ape's, say this now. Turn up some more.
Chat.
Could be. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate that. I'll talk slower. I mean, I know you're a cop.
Oh.
I had to go there. We ain't talked about that in a while. I had to go there. Same family, brother. I love you, man.
Yeah, Jim's even wearing blue tonight.
And Izzo's in dispatch.
All right. So I think that brings us to the end of the show. We actually did some undertime. Is that what it's called when you start early and go the normal amount as opposed to start on time and go overtime? So overtime, undertime? No? More crickets? Okay, fine.
I got nothing.
Got nothing. All right. So, folks, thank you very much for joining us on tonight's show. This was the Ask Us Anything, and we got a couple of ham questions out there. We played some mono a mono FT8. That was fantastic. Joe Brett's still getting him. Anyway, folks, that is all. Thank you very much for joining us. We will see you Thursday night for Coffee and Ham Radios. Thanks,
y'all
Jim.
had a great time. Have a good evening. See ya.